Good evening, free enterprise fans around the world, and welcome to match number 2 between Dustygriff and Vitasia in this Lali-Ho bracket round of 16 match. My name is Possumorpheus, and I am joined by the unstoppable new commentary force, Stoppable Force. How are you this evening, Stoppable?
Doing fantastic. Thanks for the welcome, and just super excited to be here for what's going to be a barn burner of a game, I'm sure.
Most definitely. Looking at these two runners, I mean, we all know Dustygriff, the man, the myth, the legend himself, up against Vitasia, who we all probably know, or at least I do, from commentary and other things. To me, super happy and super stoked to see Vitasia here. I know that he has put in the work to get to this stage, and it's absolutely fantastic to see. I'm looking forward to a great match. Also looking forward to these objectives. Uh, Number 5, our runners, I'm sure, are happy to see it. Number 4, that could be a little trickier.
Yeah, you're always happy to see a Fusoya and a seed no matter where he is, but Leviathan, that could be, you could be Leviathan at Mistrad, or this could be Leviathan somewhere completely nasty. I'm excited to see this.
Yeah, most definitely. And I also see we have, I want to say that's some, is it Chumbawamba on Vitasia's side? A little bit of throwback to the 90s there, I want to say, for that naming scheme. And also a Dark Knight Cecil start, which could be good or bad.
Yeah, it's all going to depend on if you can find someone to carry him through maybe up Hobbs and then up Ordeals. There are some starts here that could be really rough. Getting paired with like Iridia or your favorite, a Porum could probably help him a little bit.
I mean, any source of Zerk is a good source of Zerk early on. Endgame viability aside, it can be very helpful for any of your melee characters to go ahead and get into that queue and get swinging those swords as quick as possible. That's a real benefit to the team. So to your point, it's really going to depend who this companion character is for this starting DKC to see just how aggressive our runners can start with. And also maybe they end up with a black sword starting. It's a 1 in 3 shot and they can really push some early damage that way.
Yeah, and there are some fights, he gets that black sword and just like you run into guards and it's just not even a contest anymore. Looks like we're getting ready to go.
Yeah, we are underway. And keep in mind, folks, Dustygriff is up 1-0 in this match so far. So if he wins this, the series is over. However, we have half of the Forge. We have a Gaia drum. We have 67,000. And we have, more importantly, a Rosa. Not a ton of damage early on, but this is the team that you want going throughout the rest of the seed.
Yeah, I have to imagine both our runners are glad to see the power couple right off the bat.
Yeah, there's a number of interesting things you can do with this team. I mean, again, Rosa, she doesn't start out with a ton of power, nor does Cecil for that matter. So looting is going to be very important for our runners. But that 67,000 or 68,000, whatever it was, you can buy your way through the overworld with that. So looting will be interesting. We see a crossbow and poison arrows and a darkness sword. So that's Cecil's second best weapon. Looks like we're getting double watery pass from both Dustygriff and Vitasia, but Vitasia going to give us a peek into Kaipo and immediately a curse ring. That's pretty generous.
Oh, this is going to be one of those seeds. Curse ring right off the bat is fantastic to see, and I imagine Vitasia probably checking for elemental arrows here or anything else Rosa could use, or just an upgrade from that crossbow.
Yeah, I see a rune axe there. We have a Tela in bed. A lot of decent gear in this watery pass, or at least a couple good pieces, and that's really all you need. That rune axe won't necessarily help right now, but once Cecil turns into a paladin, the rune axe is probably the worst of the endgame viable weapons, but still an endgame viable weapon and has the mage mashing capabilities.
Yeah, worst to the best is still a pretty good compliment. And, if you run into some of these mage type bosses, your Asura or your Mage's Sisters, having that rune axe from almost the beginning of the seed is going to really come in handy.
Yeah, absolutely. And looks like we have Ice Claws for sale. in that Kaipo shop, Dusty picking one up. Did not catch if Vitasia did or not, but that's definitely a smart pickup for either an Edge or a Yang. Don't have to worry about coming back for it, and there it is. Also picking up some Cure 2s is some extra early healing to go along with the Cure 3 that both of our runners have found in Watery Pass.
Cure 2s will come in handy if we can find some more power gear for Rosa, maybe, and let her do some damage, and let Cecil toss some Cure 2s for a change.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like we're getting the back of Watery Pass from Dustygriff and straight to Hobbs for Vitasia. Power Staff and a Silk Web for Dusty. That Power Staff is actually quite a bit of early damage for Rosa, and a Ninja Hat for some agility manipulation too. So the back of Watery Pass having some nice little bits in it.
Yeah, it's definitely checked that paid off. Let's curious if we'll be up on Hobbs here. Maybe we'll find our old man right off the bat, although we'll still have to power him up, I guess.
Yeah, I do know that because of the flag set, Fusoya has to be gated by a key item, so he can't be in Baron Inn, can't be on Hobbs, but he could be behind any other key item. Looks like we have Antline up here with a Porum, so double White Mage can be good, but this team really is kind of thirsting for some helpful damage. It's going to make for some very long, slow, and awkward fights, as we see Vitasia using the Dark Wave command. Meanwhile, Dusty is looting Damsian Basement, trying to get a few more toys for his party.
I saw Cecil go into that dark pose, and I guess it makes sense when, Antline's only countering for 80 here, but that's most of these characters' health pool at this point.
Yeah, this is a surprisingly rude boss to find here. So looks like Vitasia is going to be relying on Thor Rages, Dark Wave, the aim command. Just overall, this is not fun.
This is a very rude. Oof, 2 white mages down. Yeah, this is bad. This is not almost as rough as Antline's perpetual vacation on the moon.
Yeah, I'm never a fan of finding Antline on the moon. Frankly, not a fan of finding Antline here, nor is Vitasia. Unfortunately, does not get that Gaia Drum off in time, and Cecil takes 108 damage hit. And there we go. Off to Antline Cave.
Just decides that Porum isn't worth it, and I have to agree.
Yeah, definitely would be worth it once you can get through that a little easier. We'll see if Dusty has any better luck with this Antlion. May also say no. May opt to use that Gaia Drum in the starter kit. We shall see, because there's just not a lot of good ways for this team to deal with this boss.
Yeah, we're getting our first peek at a boss here in Antline Cave. It's a Sparkle.
Yeah, and this is the D-Lunar. So those Cure 2s that were purchased would definitely help here, but that Gaia Drum will also get Vitasia through this fight. One of the things about D-Lunars is you can actually use curatives on them because they are undead. They take damage from Cure 2s, Cure 3s. They don't take damage from elixirs, but easily able to dispatch them with that Gaia Drum. And we have a hook. That's another character check that could be objective number 5, get Fusoya. That would be very interesting.
Yeah, it's probably definitely worth looking at this point, at least for the character, maybe to check out those Evelyn shops, see if there's something you want to come back for later, or even pick up now with that 67,000 gold they started with.
Yeah, most definitely. And meanwhile, Dusty able to get through that Antlion, picks up that Porum, gets a couple of levels on his characters, and is going to be doing some extra looting on the backside of Hobbs here, giving us some information. A Big Bomb there and a Lip Bolt. The Big Bomb in particular is really nice. That's another source of AoE damage, and a really strong J item this early on.
Yeah, I mean, while Vitasia giving us the Waterfall boss peak, hunting for that Leviathan, looks like it was just the Dark Imps, though.
Yeah, hunting for either Leviathan or Demist, effectively giving us a double boss hunt even though we only have one for objective number 4.
I'm always personally rooting for that cheeky demist at Mage's Sisters with the Earth Crystal behind it, but I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Well, what you want is the Demus at Magus Sisters with the Earth Crystal, which has Leviathan in the Val spot with Fusoya as one of the characters, so that everybody last locations it wonders, where is everything I need?
Yep, looks like Vitasia is going straight in to check out that hook route, while Dusty's heading into Antlion Cave, won't be far behind getting his own hook.
Yeah, it looks like Vitasia going to do some looting here as well. And going to get some of this higher tier loot. Finds a monster chest right away on this hook route. That's really good because now he can loot these first 2 chests and then loot the entire rest of the hook route. This is Eblin Cave. And there's some really nice loot you can get down here. So this is a nice find early for Vitasia.
Yeah, getting good loot and also not having to waste time making safety saves or running, looting one room and then deciding you have to come back for the other one after you save. That's a great place to run into it.
Yeah, and I'd like to pick up a couple hourglasses there from Vitasia and also a couple exits. Definitely going to be making use of one of those exits on the way out of Eblin Cave here. But not getting any Bacchus quite yet. Going to save that little bit of cash that's left, or I guess still about 50,000 that's left because of what our runner started with. But going to hold off on that Bacchus for now.
Say picking up a rune ring here in Eblin. I think I saw a self summon. Could be nice. A little slow. A black sword for Cecil's very nice. We can upgrade him before he turns into a paladin even.
Yeah, definitely very nice stuff there. That black sword, that dancing dagger, even after he becomes a paladin, might be okay as well. An assassin dagger is always nice. Samurai arrows, a lot of good stuff in this cave. And then there's things like charm claws and flame whips. But, you can't have everything.
Headband, also a nice pickup there. The Cave Eblin has turned out to be really worth looting. This is the real treasury today.
Yeah, between this and that watery pass, especially that curse ring that showed up immediately. Oh, that's okay. So this is not good because A, that's a dupe Porum, and dupes are off for this, and B, that's Asura. That's a nasty boss to find on the hook route. It's 25,000 health. It is weak to mage type killers, such as that rune axe that was found. But it's still 25,000 health. It does a lot of self-healing. And it counters every time it gets hit. So, not pleasant.
Not at all. But at least Vitasia doesn't have to go fight Antlion on Hobbs now. That's the only silver lining I got there.
That's very true.
Yep, Dusty making his dip into Watery Pass now, skipping out on the looting here at the beginning. He'll probably be even less thrilled to see a duplicate character at the end.
Yeah, it's probably not what he wanted, but here we are. Both runners picking up hourglasses and exits. Dusty opting to pick up some of those Bacchus wines right away. And meanwhile, Vitasia on his way over to the Fabul defense. Dusty giving us a peek in the shops here that Vitasia did not look at. No armor shop checked, but did check the weapon shop, but nothing really spicy. So, no good weapons, nothing like an elven bow or a samurai bow for Rosa. Well, it looks like just a silk in Fabul. Nothing too good there. And then in that weapon shop, we also have there's Elven Bow.
Just skipping it for a pack of Medusa arrows, though.
Yeah, that's interesting. Might be choosing to hold off on it. Maybe thinking, well, I'll just rely on that rune axe for that Asura. and figure out what to do with that elven bow later. But that's an interesting one because that elven bow is such a good weapon. So we'll be interested to see what happens with that. Interested to see if Dusty picks it up as well once he gets to Fabul. But looks like we have a ruby here at the Fabul defense.
It is leg, and these counters are not going to be too terrible right now. Yeah, just hitting for 20 to 30 damage, so you can just kind of swing away at him. But that glare is still going to be kind of bad when he gets around to that, I guess.
Yeah, that glare is still going to do a number.
It's going to do at least 11.
Yep, it's 11 plus 699. Couldn't have happened to a better character, though. Frankly, because Porum was already down low on health, so one of those situations where if it's got to take somebody out, might as well be the person who is least healed already.
Dusty has found his dupe and is now fighting the inventory boss here. Has gotten the bad news of Asura and Hookroot. And I guess we'll see where he goes from there. Probably not straight down. Not with a Dark Knight Cecil. So
Yeah, that would be a bold play. Maybe with a Paladin Cecil and the ability to wield that rune axe. Maybe slap a rune ring on someone to give them some protection. That is, a very big pickup for our runners finding a rune ring. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see because a lot of these early bosses are slogs here. This Ruby giving Vitasia fits. He should get through it in a battle of attrition, but going to be a little low on resources afterwards.
Dustygriff, meanwhile, looks like he's getting set to go up Mount Ordeals. Get that Paladin Cecil online, get that rune axe in some hands, and get ready to mash some mages, I guess.
Yeah, it makes sense because you're going to be able to leverage that Cecil with that rune axe much more than any other current set of equipment you have. So even though Ordeals may be a bit of a struggle, everything else on the overworld, Fabul Defense, the Baron Inn, etc., that will all be significantly easier. So opting for one slow set of fights as opposed to multiple slow set of fights is my assumption as to what Dusty's thinking here.
Yeah, I also always love coming up here when there's a boss hunt. As you pointed out, with D-Mist still in the wild, we do effectively have a 2-boss hunt, and three bosses in a row is a pretty good density of boss checks.
Definitely true, and looks like Bahamut in the first spot on Ordeals. This is something you actually don't want to see because this is the least physical punchy spot in the game, and Bahamut doesn't even punch. So yes, it's free, but it's not the free you want.
No, you want a free that's just going to ineffectively swing at you, not like this.
Yeah, this is the type of thing where you want to see Evil Wall here. Fabul Defense giving just an apple, that is not what Vitasia wanted.
That was definitely, he's definitely got to be thinking that was not worth slugging through that ruby for.
But we will see where Vitasia is off to after this. Looks like we're getting some healing from Dusty. Oh, that's a back attack Baigen. Oddly enough, the punch is the scariest part here. The vampire, because of the magic attack at this spot, is probably going to one-shot any of these characters.
Baigen, I never like running into Baigen, but here he's so nasty in this back attack spot.
Getting some good damage though out of this Cecil, but yeah, there's only 160 on that vampire. That's actually less than I thought it was going to do. So that's not too bad. It's definitely survivable. So I think Dusty's going to be okay here.
Yeah, if Baigen can keep low rolling and Porum can keep pumping out those decent strength cure 2 as well, Rosa and Cecil swing away at it, I don't think Dusty will have a problem with this.
Now, Rosa is having a bit of a problem right now. Keeps getting dunked on. All the damage going her way. And that vampire is quickly sapping her health. but is able to get a Cure 2 off. Very well done to run buffer there and stop those ticks from happening from Dusty, and able to get that Cure 2 up on Rosa to keep her alive. There's another 168 damage vampire on Porum, who also now is in the awkward situation of needing a heal or she will die.
Ooh, and she is running very low on HP, just tossing out a Cure 1 on herself.
Yeah, this is the thing. Baigen is just, he's a rough one at this location when this is the party you're dealing with.
Vitasia now threw his own Dragon God over here and getting ready to get the bad news of back attack Baigen.
Well, but it looks like Dusty is going to be through here. The main body is down. The arms are now down. Very well done by Dusty. Cecil, 1 HP in a dream, but that's one more than you need.
Yeah, there was a big bonk from Porum there at the end. I guess she got tired of being vampired.
And no save from Dusty, saying, there's nothing that can be as bad as that Baigen was. Let's go.
I don't think he saved before that Baigen either, so Dusty just blitzing through these 3 bosses.
And getting a White Spear. That's a great item for a Betrayer that is not in the seed yet. And meanwhile, Vitasia getting some good damage out of his party here. Almost 300 from Rosa, 200 from Cecil. Might have an easier time here because of the extra levels that he picked up in Fabul. Looks like he's getting, I think, an extra multiplier on that Rosa. Plus, I think has some samurai arrows.
Oh yeah, she's pushing 250 or so a shot. That's pretty good. Dustygriff runs into some orbs in the ordeals room too, so won't be any trouble on that side either.
Yeah, CPU, a nice thing to find here. Not punishing or threatening in any way. Going to be a little bit of time to get through, but a couple bonks, a couple arrow shots, and the orbs are down. Dusty has his paladin. That rune axe is online. Meanwhile, Vitasia, his Porum is getting bullied by by this Baigen, and has already fallen down once. Hopefully not again, though, for his sake. And we'll see if Dusty does anything cheeky here, maybe turning on encounters or doing anything like that to get Cecil's levels. Looks like he's saying no. Gonna probably head to Fabul here, maybe Baron in, but gonna do something, I would imagine, to try to get a level or 2 for that Cecil. Get him online, get him some attack multipliers so that Rune Axe can do a little more damage. And we'll see if Vitasia saves now that he is through that back attack Baigen as well.
No save from Vitasia either. Just jumping right in. At this point, if Baigen can't hurt them, what can, I suppose?
Yeah, I mean, I would always be worried about Wyvern. I would be worried about Gauntlet. But looks like our runners have no fear, and they are just going to push straight ahead. Looks like we have that Rune Axe, we have a Ninja Hat, Diamond Armor, and Dragoon Gauntlets. That's a pretty decently decked out Cecil, to be totally honest. A lot of mid to end game equipment there.
This Cecil is ready to go from level 1, and he's only going to get better as they level him up and maybe find some better swords, although not that it won't be that free Excalibur, since Coco will be keeping whatever he forges today if our runners even forge.
Yeah, however, we see a dupe Rosa. That means that this is looking like a 3-character hook route.
Yeah, unless we have an Earth Crystal coming up soon and we go up Zot first. This is 3 characters versus Asura and also whatever's in that King Queen Evelyn spot.
Yeah, I've seen better starts. This could be potentially really rude. It's going to be very interesting to see what the second boss here in Baron Inn is, as well as if it's something our runners can get through. But looks like it is a Pale Dim. Our runners don't have any dragon slaying gear, but this is a doable fight at least.
Yeah, it looks like Porum's already up to Berserk, and so we get this. Oh, except she does not get a chance to cast it before Pale Dim just dunks on her.
Yeah, I mean, she was up to cast it, but Paladin was like, no, that's not a thing that's happening. But we see the power of all that armor that Cecil has. And this is one of the great things about Cecil. He, even without things like Excaliburs, without things like Crystal Swords, Cecil still has cover. The things that Cecil is able to do, even without shiny swords, makes him just a tier above almost any other character. He's the reason why Dusty and most likely Vitasia are both going to get through this fight, simply on the back of Cecil's cover strats.
Yeah, he's versatile. Even if you're not doing damage with him, he's a very sturdy meat shield, and he's only taking 1 damage here from Pale Dim in the back row. So, and just using that rune axe so he can keep covering.
Yeah, and one of the things is if you parry with Cecil, the issue becomes that he won't cover anymore unless you have manually covered. So one of the things that has to happen is you have to figure out a way to take an action with Cecil that doesn't involve parrying, and maybe in this case also doesn't involve attacking, just to try to do the most damage the most efficient way possible.
Yeah, avoiding just the slowness of Pale Dim triggering those slow counters over and over and over.
Exactly. It will be interesting to see, though. I wonder if Vitasia may take a more direct approach at this, where Runax Sid, I did it again, Runax Cecil, if you go ahead and berserk him and just let him run wild here in the middle, if he's only taking 1 damage in the back row, does he get through it faster and you just say, well, I don't care if Porum or Rosa live here because there's no XP? So do you just let Cecil run wild here and just do his thing and say, forget about the other 2?
Yeah, it's possible just the higher damage from, well, I guess that's what we're attempting here on this side. I was going to say the higher damage from Cecil swinging might be worth just only having him alive in the end.
Yeah, it looks like that is what Dusty is opting for now, saying, yep, we're going to go the Runax route and whatever happens, happens. One thing about this, though, is Dusty has his Cecil in the middle, so that Runax is getting that accuracy bonus. Whereas Vitasia has his Cecil in the top slot, meaning that Porum is going to get the accuracy bonus. So that could be a big difference in this next fight. There is a Baron key, though, so that is potentially some bit of relief for our runners. Maybe a little bit of character infusion, maybe a Fusoya, maybe an Edge, anyone that's not a dupe.
Really, anyone that's not a duplicate or an Edward at this point would be welcome.
I mean, even Edward, he would be able to do meat shield things where he could eat 1 attack from Asura. But just any other character entering the queue to help buffer actions, whatever it may be, I think just another warm body is really all our runners are looking for right now.
Yeah, he could anchor a little bit. We've got that cursed ring in the inventory, so we can offset his starting 9 agility a little bit. Could be a floor inspector bard in our future if he's here.
Definitely true. Edward starting at 9 agility means he's a good enough anchor. He won't put Fusoya directly at RA1 or relative agility 1. However, what he will do with Fusoya having a ninja hat is put him at relative agility 1, and both of our runners have a ninja hat. So Edward could make a very functional anchor for this team, both for now and later.
Vitasia not berserking Cecil, but definitely still swinging with that rune axe. Looks like Rosa might be the berserked one, but not putting out a whole lot of damage there.
Yeah, and I see green arrows coming out from Rosa as well. And I'm a little curious, are those Medusa arrows perhaps, if they are green in color, or are they poison arrows? I'm curious to find out which one they are. But meanwhile, these are the guards, and we now have a small Porum, but you can be minied, and also still cast spells, so not the worst thing in the world.
You can berserk up your mage mashing Cecil and have him go to town on these guards that got a promotion. Well, at least up until Cecil gets minied.
Yeah, that's going to make for a little bit of an awkward fight.
Bad Karma pointing out in the chat that Medusa is green and poison arrows are purple, so those probably were the Medusa arrows.
That would explain why it was only 26 damage at a time coming out from those. I know Medusa arrows have incredibly low attack power because their primary function is to turn things to stone, not to deal damage.
They're what, one attack maybe? I know they're very low.
Yeah, they're not high as far as attack is concerned, that's for sure. But meanwhile, this Runax Cecil just going to town on these guards.
Even getting off a cheeky life glitch for extra XP here. That's very, very good.
Yeah, that life glitch is very nice here. Getting Cecil some extra levels. The way that the life glitch works, basically every time an enemy is killed and then a life potion is used, it tries to bring back the enemy with a number of health points equal to its vitality times 5. Well, the thing about it though is every single enemy in the game has a vitality of 0. So some quick math on stream, 5 times 0 is still 0. So what happens is the enemy just dies right away a second time in a row and you get double the XP. It's a really nice little trick. We're going to call it a feature, not a bug. And speaking of features, not bugs, D-Mist on the throne.
Now, this Baron check really paying off because we get a key item, we get a character check, well, possible key item, a character check, and then another possible key item right after that. So this is a good king bonus round.
Yeah, now I did see something interesting happen on Dusty's screen. He equipped the curse ring on Rosa. However, when he started the fight, Rosa still went first. So I wonder if this Rosa is on 0 agility, which means that she's going to be relative agility 1. And everything else is going to be a little bit slower than her. So going to be an interesting little situation here. And Dusty going to Zerk up this Cecil. We'll see if he can push the damage to get through this. Otherwise, there's some missed concerns here.
Vitasia hot on Dusty's heels, getting through these guards. The first one's already down, and the second one probably not long for this war. Yeah, 1,000 damage from Rosa and a silence. Not sure if that's some mute arrows that Vitasia picked up somewhere.
I think it's the Elven Bow, actually. Or it might be mute arrows, I'm not certain. Oh, it is mute arrows. Thank you for that, Xenocat. Shoutouts, by the way, to Xenocat, our tracker this evening, and also to Cubs, who is our restreamer this evening. And again, huge shoutouts to our runners, Dustygriff and Vitasia, and our newest member, or one of the newest members of the commentary team, Stoppable Force, up in the booth with me.
Looks like Dustygriff is running into cold mist problems, and Rosa's just going to take a nap through it here. But the cold mist only hitting for 1, but it's really more about the loss of having to have that animation play every single time.
Yeah, one of the interesting things here is because of how fast Rosa is being on agility 0, it's actually going to make those mist counters go by quicker, or that mist phase go by quicker. But unfortunately, Rosa not only is on 0 agility, she's also on 0 vitality. So the same issue that applied with the enemies being stuck at 0 vitality and not coming back to life. Rosa is stuck at 0 vitality and also cannot come back to life.
I can safely say I have not seen that. Unfortunately, I guess we don't get extra XP for life glitching Rosa.
You do not get extra XP for life glitching Rosa, unfortunately. But here we are. There's a Palom. We have a 4th character. That is going to be very welcome for our runners, for sure. One of the nice things about Quack Kid, he can actually just bluff and bluff and bluff and bluff. And eventually, if you have Quake, he can do like 5,000 damage. And that can take out a huge chunk of that Asura's health as well. And to answer a question from chat, how did Rosa get to 0 vitality? A cursed ring. Dustygriff had put the cursed ring on her in order to set up his agility for his party. However, it not only set Rosa to 0 agility, which causes some funky agility shenanigans, it also accidentally set her to 0 vitality. So as you try to revive someone with 0 vitality, they just die again.
Just getting a glass helmet here in the barren basement. I guess they threw it out because glass doesn't seem like a very good thing to build helmets out of.
Well, it might not seem like a good thing to build helmets out of, but it's actually the best of helmets. Put that on Cecil, he's not taking any damage. And meanwhile, Vitasia is through Demist as well. And keep in mind, Vitasia is up the Fabul defense check on Dusty right now. So while it might seem like Dusty is ahead, our runners are actually surprisingly even right now. Pretty much step by step with each other.
Dusty either looking for information here or looking for a free fight, diving right into the barren basement. See who's on the Odin throne today.
Well, so here's the thing. It's technically free. You just have to set up your party for it. I assume the cursed ring is going to go on Palom here. All you need is to get 1 Star Veil up, and then Golbez will just nuke himself to oblivion there. It's actually a very doable fight.
I believe the cursed ring is on Palom already, but it looks like Dusty doesn't want to sit through his whole monologue.
Yeah, the attack power in that spot, again, it's through the roof. So it's one of those things where it's definitely a doable fight. We'll see if Vitasia attempts to take it on and maybe pick up some extra information and an extra key item check. But meanwhile, Dusty's saying, I will go and do this Demist turn-in and think about Golbez while I'm getting my Twin Harp, and probably go do Twin Harp before doing the hook route.
Yeah, unfortunately, getting the bad news also that King and Queen Evelyn are in the Demist spot. That's not where you want to see the freest of free fights.
That's where I want to see it.
Well, I mean, okay, as a runner, that might not be where you want to see it. As a commentator, yeah, please put that there.
Vitasia saying, nope, I'm good. We'll see if he does any agility shenanigans. Nope, also saying, thanks but no thanks. So both runners opting out of the barren basement.
Yeah, Dusty looks like he's on the way to do his Fabul defense now, so they'll be evening up on checks. But Vitasia, I wonder if he'll head straight off to take this Twin Harp.
I would imagine that, I mean, there's only really 2 options here. Because I don't think that hook route until you've exhausted every other possible opportunity. So your 2 options would be Twin Harp or set up specifically for the barren basement Golbez check. And it really just comes down to runner preference. The Twin Harp, being an objective, is probably the one you do first.
Yeah, Dustygriff throwing an ice spell on Ruby, just knocking out much quicker for 2,700 damage. Gets through Fabul in a lot less time. So our runners are neck and neck now.
Yeah, basically done with the exact same checks. Like we had kind of speculated on, Dusty took a little longer to get through ordeals, but was able to get through Fabul significantly faster than Vitasia did. So I imagine we're going to see our runners leveling out here Finding life potions, mute bells, and star veils in Troya, that's a huge bit of shopping for Vitasia there. Those extra star veils could incentivize him to try to take on Golbez as well. We shall see if that's the case.
Yeah, finding black belts in the Troya shop as well. If you end up at endgame with some berserkers and no better body equipment for them, and you have the pass, just stop by here on your way by, get some shirts for the whole berserk family.
Yeah, definitely could be a good idea there. 14,000 apiece, they're a bit expensive, but not the end of the world. Again, this was a generous start, 68,000 or so. So, I mean, you have some flexibility on cash that you don't normally.
Yeah, Vitasia diving here into Cave Magnus, checking some of these treasure chests, and Dustygriff right on his heels. So we're probably going to have a double dose of music here in our near future.
Yeah, and mere seconds separating our runners at this point. These chests in Cave Magnus do have, I want to say it's a 40% chance at tier 4 loot in particular. That's quite good odds and a quite strong balance for T Pro, which is what the treasure settings are on these bracket flags. So it's not bad to try to find them. There's a tier 4 item right there, a bandana. That's exactly the kind of stuff you're looking for when you're doing this this looting here.
I know I'm always a little surprised by how good the stuff in Cave Magnus is. Here we go. Here's our Dark Elf.
Yeah, and it's not something that you would normally think of because Cave Magnus is one of those spots that's technically open. You don't need the Twin Harp to come down here. You just need the Twin Harp to progress through the magnetism and eventually clear the cave. So it's kind of a surprising thing to me how heavily weighted the loot is. But now we get everyone's favorite. We get to find out what the Rockin' Tunes from DJ Spoonie B are. All right, and that was Fever from Dr. Mario, I believe. And Dustygriff got into the fight second, got out of the fight first. Both runners getting a Sand Ruby. That is a fifth character. That's probably an anchor in the name of Tella.
Yeah, the old guy is a surprising amount of utility, but at this point, with Palom, Borum, Rosa, and of course our Cecil swinging his axe, Tella's probably best served as an anchor.
Now, the other nice thing that Tella brings to the table, his versatility. He has Wall, which can be used to great effect on Asura. He has Berserk. A lot of things he can do. Now, Dustygriff is turning his party into pigs. Stoppable force. Why is he doing this?
Well, it could be because he really likes that cute running pig sprite, but it's probably more likely because he's going to go take on that Golbez fight. Because if your party already has a prior status condition like Piggy or Mini or something like that, even Poison, then Golbez's hold gas, due to the way Final Fantasy IV does status effects, just does nothing. So that way you're free to help use his long monologue to help the party that survives the Shadow Dragon munching on him to set up Star Veils and reflect spells onto him.
Exactly. It looks like Vitasia doing the same thing. However, Vitasia deciding to do a little swaggier version, and he visited the dancer in Massidia and decided to turn his party into pigs that way.
It is unorthodox, but it makes me laugh every time.
It's definitely a means to an end.
Yeah, Zeno kept pointing out that his Palom doesn't have Piggy yet, so Vitasia doing what he can.
Yeah, one of the things our runners could have done, especially in Vitasia's case here, not having Piggy on Palom, could have gone and picked up Tella from Kaipo and turned everyone to pigs. But that does present the small issue of then Tella could be one who survives, and that's never a good thing. We do see a random Sork Robe and a Gungnir Spear coming out of some chests here in Baron. So big pickups there potentially for Vitasia.
Yeah, the Sork Robe, you always like to see that when you know you have your food coming up sometime in the future, since it's assuming you pick him up. It's his starting equipment, I believe, in the vanilla game, and when we're not running the Sea Neki flag, and it's just a big bonus to both sides of his magic.
Yeah, absolutely. And y'all may have seen that was a 7,800 damage lit 3 that got reflected back on the Golbez. There's a 7,920. This is what we were saying, is that this is an extremely doable fight. And Dusty gets through it quite easily.
With a little Porum Bonk for 120 to actually set off the script that makes Golbez go away and quit casting spells at us here.
Well, now Dusty has a Sork Robe, and Vitasia may more than likely have 2. One of the interesting things about this, though, it's a fair bit of XP for this team, and it's a nice piece of gear. It's only about a 25-second walk out of here, so I think you keep the XP especially for that amount of time investment.
Yeah, I believe I saw his Palom jump up to a level to get Virus at least, so that's definitely worth it.
Yeah, that also means can possibly get to Quake off of just the Mad Ogre chest, or maybe 1 or 2 Eblin chests, depending how Dusty wants to go about this.
Yeah, I have to imagine it'll be the Mad Ogres at this point. Then you can put a Sork Robe on him, and Quack Kid can go quack. Dustygriff stopping by Kaipo here to retrieve his Tella. I'd say you're probably correct, and this will probably be his agility anchor for the rest of this seed.
And one of the nice things about this ordering, come to think of it, is doing the Sand Ruby after that will also heal the Piggy status. It'll also return everyone back to full health. So this is potentially exactly what our runners had in mind for a free heal afterwards.
I believe at this point they've exhausted most of their overworld checks, unless they really want to go peek that first boss in the Tower of Zot, which I cannot imagine anyone wants to do with our demist out of the way.
Yeah, I think you just kind of have to live with, if Leviathan is at exactly the Magus Sister spot. Kudos to Cubs for rolling that.
Yeah, if that's the case, you'll go find them eventually because the party rock will drop, or more likely you'll get the other 4 objectives first.
But meanwhile, Vitasia also threw this Golbez. Both runners doing a fantastic job getting through that Golbez. And looks like Dusty heading straight down this hook route now. We'll see if he stops and takes any of the trap chests along the way. I assume Vitasia going to be getting that Tella as well, and then joining Dusty on this hook route.
Yeah, once again, the Vitasia also taking advantage of the free heal off the Kaipo bed. We'll be doing some more looting in Baron, it looks like. Already turned up 1 Sork Robe and a Gungnir, so why not check a few more chests, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, these chests are not terrible in Baron. They have some pretty good weighted loot in them, since they are a gated key item location. So not the worst thing to go and play with. And this Tella that our runners have picked up with that curse ring is the perfect anchor for this team.
Even comes with a change rod that we can take off and give to Palom. What more could you ask for?
He's a real team player, that Tella. What a fella.
Looks like Dusty is attempting to find a trapped chest to get that get a little more XP for his Quake kid. Hasn't found it yet. Found an Earth Hammer for a Sid that we don't have.
Yeah, the worst part about the Earth Hammer here is that not only do you not have a Sid, but you can't even sell it for money. Normally an Earth Hammer sells for like 15k, which is a substantial amount of money. But here it sells for 0 because one of the changes to the bracket flags is that the S sell 0 flag is on, meaning every time you go to a shop and you want to get rid of something in your inventory, it sells for 0. That's also why you see the runners picking up so many chests that may say 0 GP.
Dusty finding an interesting find in one of his chests, a Soma drop, which can be really nice to alleviate some of Fusoya's poor MP pool problems, which is really the only drawback to the old guy. Or if we aren't finding, I'm going to say, we probably won't use it on Tella, unfortunately. So no swag videos out of Tella this seed, I imagine.
Well, I mean, one of the interesting things is you could put the curse ring on someone else. Use the Soma drop on Tella. You could dump a Meteo onto something like Asura, use like an Ether 2, and then dump another one onto Asura. A non-curse ring Tella will probably push 5 to 6k with a Sork Robe and a Change Rod with a Meteo spell. It would be half of Asura's health. It's honestly not a terrible plan, but I think having this Palom around, and especially this Runak Sid, those types of drastic measures not quite as necessary.
Yeah, and there's Quake on Dustygriff's side as Vitasia is working his way up the tower too. So I have to imagine we'll see some combination of the bluff and Quake strats that you were mentioning earlier.
Yeah, the bluff Quake and that Runax for Cecil going to continue to do work. I think I may have said Sid again. I don't know.
I mean, look, if so, I didn't hear it. So
it looks like we're getting a glass hat on Palom here, as opposed to a glass hat on Cecil. This means that Dusty has plans for this kid. Now, this is an interesting find. We were hoping for a couple blue robes, but we just have one. Just a water hag. No gauntlet, no happy fun time.
Well, I guess they can have one free fight before their Asura. Fine. Begrudgingly be nice to the runners here.
Yeah, I suppose the overworld has been rude enough. Our runners are going to be looking at an hour before they get underground, which that is not going to be reassuring for either of them. Most of the time, you're looking at, runners being underground in 35 or 40 minutes on these flags. But the way that this seed started, and the way even that it's progressed, I think anything sub-hour is perfectly reasonable here.
Yeah, the one silver lining if when you're facing a rude overworld like this is your opponent had to face it too. But you
Exactly.
start wondering, did they skip that Golbez check that all I got was a Sorkrobe out of? Are they already underground because they skipped the basement?
I do think something to point out though with that basement check is if you don't do that Golbez, you still have to get your XP somewhere. So you might not be doing that Barren Basement, but you'd be doing an extra trap chest or two. So I don't think it's really even a time loss.
Water Hag knocking down both kids on Vitasia's side, rude. And it looks like Vitasia did not stop and pick up Tellus, so is using Porum as their anchor.
Yeah, that's going to be particularly interesting for this Asura fight. I'm a little curious on that decision. That's definitely something that I know I want to ask about in the interview post game. Is why no Tella as an anchor for this?
Meanwhile, on Dusty's side, we can see we've got Rosa throwing Blinks out and a Berserk Cecil swinging for roughly 3,700 damage a swing. It's fairly consistent considering he's not in the middle anymore. And I'm sure we'll see a spell come out of Pallant here very soon since he's blinked. So I'm sure that's bluffs and then a Quake coming soon.
Yeah, and a ton of damage from that Cecil. You're looking at only 25,000 health here. And yeah, Asura down already. So very quick. And Vitasia only has one Star Veil. This is going to get particularly awkward because now he is not going to have a way to do those Star Veil strats. So what he's going to need to do here is either Cure 3 lock or Life lock this Asura. Past the 16,000 health mark, Asura will no longer heal its health, it will heal its MP. So there is an out here for Vitasia if he can either keep this Asura Cure 3 locked or Life locked. It's not the end of the world, but it's going to make for a considerably longer fight. This is risky though, because this is a Cure 4. That is going to be 6,800 health back in Asura's favor. That is not what you want to see on Vitasia's side.
Oof, no, for a while it looked like he was going to strictly manage it even with the Berserkers, but then that face turned. That's not what you want.
Yeah, it's particularly awkward because this Asura is just going to have so much in the way of agility and turns that it can take that you're going to need to get a ton of actions in order to keep up with the changing faces, which may actually mean Porum, as Porum is getting berserked here, may need to enter the queue as well. But now we run the risk of a Cure 4 lock, because as that third person gets queued up for berserk, Asura is now on Cure 4. Only healed for 406 though. That's a really good sign.
I'm guessing that means they pushed her past the point where she's healing not her HP now. Takes the reset.
Ooh. So I think Vitasia was actually safe there. I think he had pushed far enough and just may not know the Asura functionality well enough. It's a very niche application of knowing that particular boss's script and how it functions.
Ooh, and is now walking out of the giant. This is going to, or the giant, excuse me, out of the tower, and has exit on Cecil presumably, so won't have to walk all the way out of Cave Eblin, I don't think.
Yeah, he'll have to walk back through the first portion, but yeah, unfortunately, that's a tough pill to swallow for Vitasia. Meanwhile, Dusty is through the dolls fight in Dwarf Castle. Vanilla dolls, as it were.
A little more vanilla. Cubs is coming for Dathis' title here for Vanilla Seeds.
Yeah, between Dathis and Zoe Vanillion, they better look out. And shout out to Flurry in chat. Specifically, the number for Asura is 2 to the 14th. I'm not going to do that math on stream. That's way too much. So we're just going to call it 16 to 17k and go from there. Dustygriff able to get a veil off against this wyvern. Rosa saying, haha, not today. Cecil just living through it because Cecil. And Dusty going to be through this wyvern.
Yeah, this wyvern presented no problems. Rosa just looking at it. No fear.
Rosa saying, Dragon God? What Dragon God? Get out of my face.
She's already killed one today. Why not two? So, and we did see a Sid, but Dusty, not surprisingly, not taking it, despite all the times you accidentally said Sid.
I was trying to speak Sid into existence. I did. That's not on me, Sid. That's on Dusty for not taking you. I tried, fam. I tried.
Looks like Vitasia is back from his shopping trip and is heading right back down to Tower of Babel.
Yeah, meanwhile, Dusty is through Dwarf Castle. The dolls into Wyvern, so nice to know that Wyvern is off the table now. And it gets, well, yet another Runax. You know who that Runax would be really good for, Stoppable Force?
Sid?
Yes!
Sid that we just saw?
Sid would... That Runax is really good for Sid.
Well, unfortunately, we told Sid to go back and take a nap because his daughter is concerned that he's overworked, so that Runax will probably not see a lot of use today.
Yeah, second Runax, not so great. First one, really good, as demonstrated by our runners against the guards and the Asura.
Could be nice if we saw another Kane, but I believe at this point we've already found better weaponry for Kane, so...
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, our runners have that white spear still floating around.
Yeah, a white spear, and then I believe Vitasia found a Gungnir spear.
And a pass in the Feymarch. That's a nice find. Both runners will get that pass. So not an advantage to either one per se, but definitely a nice to have for both of them.
Yeah, definitely nice if we have to end up going to the moon for some of these objectives and then coming back for, say, the Forge or to trade the Pinktail, just to have that knowledge that if it's your last one, you don't then have to sit through the whale animation again and then walk all the way down the lunar subterranean. No one wants to do that.
Speaking of things no one wants to do, that's Val at Leviathan.
No, thank you.
And Magus Sisters at the Asura spot. Now, that's doable, but those spells from, what is it, Mindy, excuse me. The spells from Mindy are gonna do some damage, especially once getting to Virus. The viruses there can do upwards of 3,000 damage. It's a particularly unpleasant location, but we'll see if that Runax can be put to great use again for this team.
Yeah, with all this manipulation, it looks like Dusty's going to try this Magus Sisters fight.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to invoke cover strats for the physical, which makes sense, and then just probably try to burst down DPS-wise the front sister to not take the damage from her spells. Only getting 1,200 out of that Cecil. I don't think that was the damage that Dusty was looking for from that Runax.
Yeah, he's probably going to lose somebody here unless she targets Cecil and doesn't do very much damage.
Yeah, that's 1,062 from a level 2 fire. That's a lot of damage, y'all.
But all in all, still controllable since Cecil's still up with a decent amount of health and knocks Mindy over. So if he can rush Cindy down before she picks her sister up and we get this unintentional sisters grind, then he might have it here.
Yeah, the big issue is that his Palom got knocked out immediately, so he can't get the second Quake queued. So Remedy might be coming here, even if it's only Remedy on the front sister Mindy. I have a feeling we may see Remedy unless Cecil can get a really big hit here on Cindy.
You see telepunching for 2 damage. Glad to see you chipping in.
I'm helping! That's my tele impression. It's probably not very good.
It seems fine. Got the back sister down as well, and now we're just trying to swing Cindy out here, but I believe she gets the bulk of the hit points at whatever spot she appears at. Is that correct?
That is correct. She gets about 50%, so assuming there's 25,000 health here, she gets about 12,000 of it. But Dusty has done at least 12,000 health there, and or 12,000 damage, and is through those Magus Sisters. Very well done. And gets a pan for his troubles. That could be a huge pickup.
Vitasia back fighting Asura again. I believe I saw a bounced cure spell go out there, so may have just gone out for a shopping trip for some Star Veils. Yep, there's a bounced cure 3, healing Rosa, over healing Rosa.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Dusty's saying, Val, well, you can stay there and you can play in the Leviathan spot for the rest of time because I'm out.
Yeah, I think you just fade that Val, and you just hope there's nothing behind that because you don't want to do that.
Yeah, the Magus Sisters was very well done. No need to pressure luck. Go turn in all those pan checks. You have Sheila 1, Sheila 2, and the pan bonk. That's 3 checks that are easily able to be done at this point. So no reason to really push it with Val there. Definitely interested to see what this pan yields, because this is something that Vitasia may or may not do when he gets down to the Fey March. So could be a huge game changer here for Dusty. But just a Dragoon Gauntlet from the first turn-in.
Hey, you know who would really like that Dragoon Gauntlet to help protect them from dragons?
Ain?
Probably him too. But I was thinking that Sid that we just got rid of.
Yeah, it's interesting, and that might be something to ask Dusty about, is why no Sid versus that Porum? Because it would be a fairly logical replacement. But a double White Mage setup is not the worst thing in the world. So it's one of those things where it's a little bit of runner's preference, and maybe Dusty just wants a better Zerker. Sid is kind of a pile of health and decent damage, but maybe Dusty's more interested in a pile of damage and decent health.
Yeah, Sid is a really nice early game. Like, I love seeing Sid in one of my first 2 character slots because you know you've got that health pool for these early bosses, and he can wield some end-game weapons that you find them, but he's, by about an hour, if you don't already have Sid, he's probably started to fall off.
Well, the pan from that Magus Sister checking the Fey March, kind of a big deal. That's the Darkness Crystal.
Yeah, we are probably off to the moon.
Well, I guess the options right now would be the Moon or Val or Keyless Tower.
I am a fan of Keyless Tower. It seems to pay off a lot on these flag sets, but that could just be confirmation bias.
Well, it does have the highest independent chance of a key item of any of the checks that Dusty has. Each moon spot is somewhere just below 50%, I believe, to have a key item. The tower itself, even Keyless Tower here, is somewhere around 70%, maybe even a smidge higher than that. So it's not the worst check in the world because there's a good chance that you'll find a key item of some sort. Is it something you want? Not necessarily, but it's a good enough chance. We see Dusty heading back to the overworld though, stopping in Mysidia. So this looks like Moon is going to be his next destination. And maybe he's looking for the character. Maybe he's looking for a moon dive. Maybe he's looking for free bosses up there. Maybe he's looking to grind. A lot of different options on the table for Dusty right now.
Yeah, Dusty and Vitasia both picked up those hourglasses earlier in Cave Evelyn. So if they want to grind, Dusty has his Tela. He could at least uncurse him long enough to do weak on those dragons after they're stopped, make grinding on them completely free.
That's definitely true. Can go ahead and get some gold dragons done. The nice thing about gold dragons on this flag set in particular, because you only get money from bosses and your starter kit, or random encounters as well, those gold dragons will give you a ton of money So definitely something to consider for Dustygriff if he needs a little more cash.
Checking the My City item shop, just finding an Odin. And I'd say with that, we are probably off to the moon. Probably check our free character first, since that has a good potential to be a Fusoya. And, or a better Berserker, maybe. And then we'll see where we go from there. I'd personally like to see a cave value check.
Yeah, and as our tracker Xenocat again pointing out, Tower of Zot, Package, Moon, and Giant are left. So there's 5 character checks left. We know Fusoya has to be one of those. As an objective, that means he is guaranteed in the seed somewhere.
Hummingway is having silk webs and vampires for sale, so if we do need to do 1200 HP strats, which seems very unlikely at this point, they're at least on the table.
And looks like Vitasia getting roughed up a little bit here, the second go around. Cecil is down, and because Rosa is berserked, it's going to be a little bit difficult to get him back up and keep him healed. So might be in this for quite some time.
Yeah,
with this Rosa.
This has been going on for a while, and this has got to be rough for Vitasia right now to be sitting through the second attempt after having to walk out for the first one. On Dusty's side, we see a Moon Edward, and then we probably tell Moon Edward to go back to sleep.
And Rosa gets the killing blow for 200 damage, and thankfully, the suffering is over and Vitasia is through. Very well done by both runners to get through that. I want to say we're looking at about a 12-minute time difference right now. However, that doesn't tell the whole story, because Vitasia could easily do the same checks as Dusty, do the Magus Sisters check, get the pan, and go top down. And if the value is all in cave value, he could be right back on level playing ground.
Vitasia giving us a boss peak, which we either didn't see on Dusty's side or I just missed it, but it looks like Dark Elf is at the top of tower today.
Yeah, and Dark Elf not too bad a boss. Vitasia could, as Chad is pointing out, also go ahead and play at that top of tower. Maybe thinking, well, what if Dusty doesn't want to go there without the tower key? We know Dusty usually routes for efficiency, so maybe Keyless Tower is not super efficient when it's a scripted boss like Dark Elf.
Dusty descending down the lunar subterrane here. Looks like he's going to try bottom up, maybe peek some bosses, maybe look for some free ones.
Yeah, and with only 7 key items, it'll be interesting to see if Dusty opts to go for any sort of grind beforehand. A couple gold dragons with a life glitch is still it's about 90,000 XP and about 70,000 gold. But looks like he's moving a siren down in his inventory, so going to peek some bosses first and see what he can do here.
Yeah, with 7, possibly hoping for some value out of the ribbon room and the white spear altar. I'm sorry, I do not know my moon altars, I confess.
Well, this is a very doable fight, but not a quick fight. And I believe that was a radio show host or radio show analyst.
Radio and TV talk show host.
There we go. So Vitasia being the man of the people and showing us what the job dwarf is.
Yeah, running into the inventory boss here, trying to shop in Tamra, probably going to be pretty disappointed by the contents of that shop after spending this time cleaning up.
This Elements fight at the White Spear Altar, Vanilla Plague spot, this is an interesting one. You can go for reflect strats here. You don't particularly want to mess with the second form, which is the Ruby form. That's where he decides to do Fire 2, Fire 3, and then a party-wide glare, which, if y'all have never been privy to that, it hurts a lot. But this could also be a situation where Dusty's going to blink everyone up and then just Zerk Cecil The rune axe on that ruby form of elements, ruby is treated as a mage. So this would be yet another fantastic application for that rune axe that has done so much work for our runners this seed.
I believe I saw Tella throw out a wall there, and here's a fire 2 coming out of the Quake Kids. So it looks like we're just going to try for a flex strats and just burn through the Mylon version without ever triggering the counter that will turn it into Ruby. So we'll just have punches and curses to deal with here.
And a reflected sight. I'm going to assume reflected sight was not intentional.
Hopefully a miss menu.
That's a big fire too, though. 5,300. So that's about 9,000 health pushed. There's 28,000 health total here. I'm not 100% certain on the split. It's usually like 55-45.
Cecil taking a big swing, and then Rosa getting cursed as Mylon finally gets a turn between being roasted by the kid.
And Dusty did swap wall users, concerned that the wall might run out on his initial target of Rosa, swapping to a target now of Porum, who is blinked up, to make sure that that user of the wall cannot be punched. And this fire too should reflect and kill.
Meanwhile, Vitasia peeks the Feymarch bosses, just says nope, casts exit with Cecil and leaves. So, and is not sure if they're leaving here to do that siren and then go back, or just grinding up a little to move on.
Yeah, looks like gonna pop that siren, gonna get some extra XP here. And oh look, Dusty, you can get underground now.
Who knows? Maybe we'll get to see the swag key toss where you just throw it down the well anyway. Guess that's gone.
Yeah, if nothing else, it's a key item. It's certainly not the key item you want. I do hope that Vitasia is able to get this stop off on this dragon, because these punches are going to hurt.
Ooh, yeah, this siren is quickly going awry. Has to spend an hourglass to freeze the yellow dragon.
Yeah, I mean, you got to do what you got to do. That experience is going to be really important for this squad. Relying on just the 4 party members, opting not to take that Tella. If he does Dwarf Castle, we'll probably take that Sid to function as both an anchor, but also an active user of weaponry. Now here's a fun fight that's actually not fun at all. This is Dark Knight Cecil at the Ogopogo spot. So this is air quotes doable. But those are some really big air quotes.
So 900 damage, I believe, on Cecil. Everyone north of Cecil just dropping immediately. Yeah, Dusty sees that this is doable. Air quotes doable, maybe, and is going back to do it again, it looks like. But Pain Man is painful here.
Yeah, there's going to have to be some pretty specific setup here. You're going to want Rosa to be acting before Cecil. Rosa to get a cure off on Cecil, or possibly vice versa. It's low battle speed, but they need to both live in order to make this work. And they're going to have to target one another. It's definitely doable, but again, it's going to take some particular finagling to make it work. Oh, this is interesting. He's opting to try to keep both characters alive. I don't know if he can get another action off with Cecil here. Yeah, I think with this, you actually want Rosa going first and Cure 3ing Cecil, then have Cecil sit on the second big wave, or second dark wave, and Cure 3 himself. It's one of those really weird, kind of staggering cures you have to do that you don't necessarily think of because it's not super intuitive.
Dusty decides maybe Dr. Luggage sounds like a better fight today.
Yeah, and the other thing with that Pain Man fight is just get Rosa to Cure 4 and have Cecil with a couple hundred more HP and you're fine. So just get through this Dr. Luge fight and and move on from there.
If you don't get it from this fight, then there's the potential for 2 key items here, although unlikely. But if he gets 2, that would put Dusty at 10, I believe. And then
That is correct. And it's not unreasonable. There's the Val at Leviathan, Keyless Tower, and the rest is somewhere up on this moon. So there's, I would say, a better than average chance, actually, of 2 key items compared to most seeds, just for what the distribution seems like on key items in this particular one.
Vitasia through the dolls, and here comes his Sid. And onward to Wyvern. Does Vitasia have any veils?
He does not,
No.
but Corum dodged.
And Cecil lived.
This is very awkward, though, because there's going to be a little bit of life potion roulette here, and we need to see if Cecil can solo this. That's a good hit. But that's a bad nuke target.
Ooh, if that had landed on Corum, maybe.
Yeah, I think this is not looking particularly great. These are not the targets you want. And there's the nuke on Sid, and unfortunately, much to Chumbawamba's chagrin, Vitasia got knocked down indeed. But we'll get up again.
Yeah, you can't keep him down. Now he is armed with the knowledge that there's a wyvern there, and sometimes that's all you really need to know.
Definitely true. And Dustygriff through the first form of the Dr. Luge fight. An important thing to know about this second form is that it's completely free under the right circumstances. Every single attack that Dr. Luge uses can either be reflected or nullified by Star Veils. So the beam attack reflects and does 10% of Dr. Luge's own health. The emission reflects, and the laser, the scary one, especially in a spot like this, just fizzles flat out. So Star Veils can make this second half completely free. You just have to add time.
Yep, we have a wall going up on our Cecil, and Palom's bluffing up, so guessing we're hoping for anything to reflect off Cecil before Palom drops a big spell on Dr. Luge's head here.
Yeah, realistically, the only thing you don't want is a laser on Palom right now. But that wall going up on Palom, that's going to prevent the laser. So very heads-up play. Tella eating 2,915 damage from that laser. Ouch. And that laser is based on a formula where Dr. Luge's health basically divided by 4 is how much the laser will do. So that means that he has roughly 12,000 health to start with in this form at this spot.
Yeah, emission doing a whopping 2 when reflected, but Palom and Cecil here providing the bulkier damage and protected from the spells. So I'd say Dusty is basically through this.
Yeah,
I'd say
definitely.
that cursing him, so.
And speaking of being through things, Vitasia threw that Wyvern, got the double dodge from Palom and Rosa, and Cecil having enough health to just kind of laugh. And Vitasia also will be getting his Rune Axe to go with his Sid. And that was a 1,600 damage laser. That means we're about 6,400 health left.
Unfortunately, Dr. Luge manages to put the kid to sleep. Looks like our walls have worn off at this point. As Poor manages to sit up long enough to notice where she is and then get knocked right back out.
And now we have a little bit of an awkward situation. A couple folks here got gassed, but Dr. Luge is nice enough that he will go ahead and heal your party. Unfortunately, this means that the Berserk probably has fallen off of Cecil. If it was ever on him to begin with.
Well, if it wasn't, it is now.
There's a laser for 127 on Cecil. That means that Dr. Luque has roughly 500 health remaining. This hit should do it. Goodbye, Dr. Luque, and hello, 57,000 XP for Dustygriff's team, and more importantly, 2 key item checks. But we do get some divergence here. Vitasia going to make the keyless tower play.
Get a Zeus Gauntlet out of the left chest, which, not a key item, but not unhappy to see it. Has to fight the inventory boss to get it, though.
Yeah, but I think you're okay fighting the inventory boss for a Zeus Gauntlet. More importantly, getting a Rat Tail. One really nice item and 1 key item. So we'll see Dusty checking his inventory. Maybe thinking, did he miss something? Curious.
Not sure if he's looking for something or just looking for his camping gear there. Wonder if he'll probably going to at least pursue another one of these bosses before heading back to pursue the Rat Tail here.
May have also been doing some calculus on whether or not he can go after Pain Man. Or might be saying, let's go play with the Crystal Sword altar first, which is the Wyvern spot, but opting to not take on Pain Man. Going to leave that for a little bit until it is going to be easier for him. Maybe also just not wanting to spend those only 2 Cure 2s that he has. And to answer a question from chat, no, Dusty has not done Keyless Tower. He opted to fade it in favor of going to the moon. So if this Keyless Tower check has not just some, but a ton of value, then that could be a huge deciding factor for Vitasia. And oh boy.
Oh boy, Ogo Pogo.
So, I don't know about you, Stoppable Force, but that Pain Man is looking awful nice right about now.
Yeah, I'd rather go try to line up some heals than put up with Ogo Pogo here, I think. Yeah, Dusty appearing to come to the same conclusion. Nope. Yeah, going to go out and try it again.
Yeah,
better prepared this time.
Yeah, Cecil in the back row will do a lot better here. Might be able to live through an attack. But this is kind of the awkward spot our runners have been put in, where there were some situationally rude bosses on the overworld, along with not a ton of DPS, and some particularly rude bosses on the moon now. 1 item short of 10 key items for the bonus XP just makes it really awkward because you don't want to spend all your resources early. So you want to really be grinding once you hit 10 key items, but when you're faced with things like Pain Man and Ogo Pogo, getting that 10th key item can be awful tricky.
Yeah, it would be great to have the 10th key item before you grind, but you have to get the 10th key item first, and these are some nasty fights in the way.
Yeah, and to throw some information towards chat, just to let everybody know, the pass is not considered a key item on this flag set. It can be on certain flag sets, but not on this particular one. And yes, indeed, that was tele-lifing and not hitting a blink cast from the middle slot.
You know, he's an older guy. He's not used to the low gravity of the moon, clearly, and it's throwing off his spells. Also, with him being the agility anchor, he's not used to being awake.
That's fair. That curse ring allows him to stay awake. But meanwhile, Vitasia threw that Dark Elf, so this is going to be a very big moment. If this has, the second half of Forge, or if this has, let's say, the Luca Key or the Earth Crystal, Bacchus Wine, not what Vitasia was looking for. That is a womp and a half. Goodness gracious, Cubs, you didn't have to do him like that. But while Dusty is in the throes of this Ogopogo fight and Vitasia is retreading some ground, doing this, the Sheila 1 check, not having the pan, but doing the Sheila 1 check and setting it up. Huge shout outs again to Cubs Rule 21, our restreamer, who has rolled this absolute gem that is testing our runners. Shout outs to Xenocat, who has been doing a fantastic job pushing the buttons and not eating them. Huge shout outs to our runners, Dustygriff and Vitasia, for putting on a fantastic show for y'all and playing this so you don't have to, because this is not a fun looking seed, to be totally honest. And huge shout outs again to first time commentator doing a phenomenal job, Stoppable Force, my co-commentator this evening in the booth.
Thank you, and a shout out right back to you, Possumorpheus, for being just a veritable font of knowledge about this game. I have learned a lot both from watching you race and also watching your stream. So
I learned from some of the best, and the least I can do is pass that knowledge on to everybody in the free enterprise community. But looks like Dusty has stabilized a fair amount here on this Ogopogo fight. Has some blinks up. You may not see them coming through particularly well because of how things show up on Twitch, but everyone is blinked except that Cecil. Just going to make sure that everyone is healed up and make sure that nobody perishes here.
Yeah, as long as you can survive his swings with blinks and you heal up from the big waves, Ogopogo isn't as threatening as he might seem at first, as shown as he goes down on Dustygriff's side. And for his trouble, let's see, he gets the Earth Crystal Party Rock.
This also begs an interesting question for Dusty. Do you go do that Pain Man, or do you make that your hill to die on? Because if he chooses to leave, it could be a little bit concerning if there is value at exactly that Pain Man. I'm curious if he has Cure 4 on Rosa. I did not catch it, but Cure 4 would go such a long way in that fight. Or possibly Cecil having enough HP. Where is he at right now? I wasn't able to catch it, but I think he's going to head towards DKC and make sure that he's done with the bottom of the moon and never has to come back.
Yeah, you don't want to risk having value there at the actual deepest part of the moon. The good news is, though, finding that Earth Crystal, though, brought him to 10 key items. And with 10 key items, he'll be earning double XP. So even if he didn't get his Rosa to Cure 4 yet, he could siren himself up a single gold dragon fight, and it looks like that's what he's doing. So get him some money, get double XP, get everybody situated here.
Yeah, it definitely makes some sense here, because that's going to be a lot of HP that gets put onto that Cecil and that Rosa, and going to be able to easily take out that Pain Man, or easily not be taken out by that Pain Man, I think is the better way to put it.
Easily weather the Pain Man, I guess.
Yes.
Gold Dragon's got a little too enthusiastic about knocking over the agility anchor. Thus, he has to pick him back up to let him cast weak and then knock him back over before killing the dragons. Vitasia, meanwhile, appears to be taking the Sylph Cave trapped chests, which can have some nice loot and I believe give some decent experience.
And Dusty going for the level 2 spell double life glitch. Unfortunately, the life glitch from Rosa ever so slightly too early, but does still get the single life glitch here. So that is a nice haul there. He's going to get 180,000 XP out of this. Meanwhile, Vitasia taking trap chests in the Sylph Cave. Gets a crystal ring for his troubles. Not exactly what he was looking for, I don't believe, but a good pickup nonetheless. A crystal ring is a phenomenal piece of gear.
Yeah, it's probably not what you were hoping for out of a trap chest, but a fantastic piece of defensive gear all the same, and whoever he puts it on is really going to benefit from it here.
Definitely. And Dustygriff does have a cursed ring, so that Tella staying alive is not the end of the world. With a cursed ring, he's still going to have a lot of troubles being fast enough to mess up Dusty's agility situation. So this is not a huge concern. And looks like there's a lot of HP on this team now. Cecil at 2,300, Rosa at 1,700. shouldn't be too much concern here now. May also be wanting to use this altar as a way to get XP on all of his party members, not just one or two, and that may be why he saved it as well.
Yeah, with Rosa at Cure 4, it's going to be tricky, but it's doable.
And meanwhile, Vitasia has pulled a couple of trap chests now, going through and healing up, trying to find some nice shiny things. Found a power shirt, found a crystal ring.
Possibly hoping to gear up and level up a little bit before going back to take on that Magus Sisters. Possibly, but probably not Val.
Yeah, I mean, Val is doable. You just have to blink up, but not pleasant. Rosa, 9 health in a dream. That's 8 more than you need, and gets XP on everybody. That's going to be 122 or 128,000 XP. That's a ton. It's going to be a couple more levels. Makes the grind easier, gets another check out of the way. Very well done by Dusty.
Yeah, he even had the life backup ready to go on Rosa in case she didn't live with 9 HP here. But for his troubles, gets the package. That's another character check. That could easily be Objective 5 and a Fusoya.
Yeah, and I mean, he picked up 3 character checks from the moon. The Earth Crystal and the package check. So if none of those have it, then Fusoya is guaranteed at the Giant. Which just becomes a question of at what point do you go play on the Giant?
Cubs has been rooting for both Fu and Leviathan on the Giant all along, so I guess we'll see if he managed to roll that level of Rude Seed.
I believe someone in chat called out earlier, name a more iconic duo, Cubs and Rolling Rude Seeds. I mean, I'll wait. I got what I asked for in a match earlier that Cubs had rolled. I jokingly said to him in the race room, well, Cubs, just give me a Porum start with an objective of get Porum and another one of get Porum. He gave me a Porum start with a get Porum objective, and I wasn't thrilled, let me tell you.
Oh, sometimes the monkey paw curls and you get exactly what you asked for. Dusty diving back in to finish clearing the moon out. Dusty never wants to come back to this moon.
Yeah, well, I mean, it kind of makes sense also because he's got the character checks. But that legend sword is still out there. The tower key, the Luca key. There's a couple different things he's still looking for. The pink tail as well. The way that the distribution works, and oh hey, by the way, there's Leviathan. The pink tail on any given seed is going to be on the moon directly about 1 out of 3 times. The legend sword is going to be about 1 out of 5 times. Legend sword, adamant, something like that. So there's a decent chance that not only would this boss be up here, but also some of those terminal key items that don't lead to anything else.
Vitasia finding a crystal armor and actually keeping it. I long for the days when you could just see that and know it was a chunk of money. As it is, though, great for fights where you don't intend to Zerk up your Cecil, but not great unless you have an Avenger sword on hand, which, given the number of trap chests Vitasia has been checking, maybe.
Yeah, could be an Avenger, could be a crystal sword. Vitasia just looking for something to make the rest of his experience on this seed much, much easier.
Leviathan over here seeming like no big deal after putting down Ogopogo. So I'd say it won't be long before Dusty has another objective lit up.
Yeah, but our runner's probably getting a little nervous. I know it's been a rude seed, but an hour and 37 minutes in is a long time for these bracket seeds. So probably getting a little nervous here. Again, this has not been a fun or pleasant seed for our runners. But just a spoon from that Leviathan, so no double required levy. But maybe the value cave has value after all.
Might be, and you've already cleared everything else. Might as well go peek that.
And looks like Dusty is hopping in the big whale, not going back to Earth. And that would tell me over to Value Cave we go. Meanwhile,
sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead because you had speculated on it earlier.
Yes, and Vitasia now happy with the XP and items from the Sylph Cave, going to dive back in here and take on one or possibly both of these bosses in the Fey March.
Yeah, my assumption is, and I think you hit this dead on, is that Vitasia was gearing up not just to take on the Magus Sisters. I think Vitasia's plan here is to commit to this Fey March, knowing that if he struggled like he did on Asura, he's probably thinking, I'm behind. I need to do something that's, a splash play. So I'm going to do this Val, and we're going to try to make this work. That's most likely what Vitasia's thinking at this time.
Dusty finding Plague in the Bahamut spot, which never difficult, just kind of annoying. But especially if you've got Berserkers in here, Plague can be fairly trivial to take care of.
Yeah, basically as long as you have one or two people Berserked here and everyone's relative agility 1, it's going to be more or less free. It's just going to be a little bit slow because Plague is the king of lag, and lag is just hard to emulate. And Plague is just like, we're going to make this slow and unpleasant. You're never in any actual danger of losing, but you're going to be here for a hot minute.
Heads up play from Dusty. Kamikazes the Cecil, so that Plague is forced to reset the count, giving him that extra buffer of counter time as he then raises Cecil and berserks him. It looks like we're going to kill somebody else and probably re-raise them too, just in case.
Yeah, and the other nice thing about doing this is it also pushes a good bit of damage. That's 2,800 damage and 1,400 damage. That's 4,200 damage in Kamikazes. That is not meaningless damage. This spot has 37,000 health roughly, so that's over 10%, closer to 15% of the actual health here from what a lot of folks consider a trivial or a marginal item. Kamikaze doing work in this fight.
Yeah, I hear it. You can use it to skip the crumble on Zeromus, apparently.
You can skip any crumble with it at any of the element spots or Zeromus. It's a neat little trick to save some time. And meanwhile, Vitasia taking on these Magus Sisters, going to get his pan once he gets through. So that'll be a good infusion of key itemry, if you will, for him.
Yeah, we already know that there's value in following that up, so Vitasia will probably have his route to the moon before too long.
And I must not be caught up on my memes because I am not picking up on our poll currently. Stoppable Force, you want to take a shot at this one?
I do not consider Plague to be a dragon or a sandwich. I am clearly out of the loop on something.
I love the concept, but I'm not not 100% sure exactly what it is. I'll go with dragon because it seems fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna vote for a sandwich because I would really like a sandwich right now.
That's fair. And it looks like Plague has the Luca key. That is one more out that is actually taken off the table for Vitasia. So if my count is correct, that's the Magma key, the Earth Crystal, the package, the Luca key, and the spoon from the moon. 5 key items?
Yeah, moon definitively not haunted, unless somehow all of these turn up to be dead ends, which is statistically impossible, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, because Val could give the tower key. The tower key could lead to either the legend sword or the pink tail.
And then Fuyosoya could be on the giant.
Yeah, Fu would have to be on the giant. And at that point, Vitasia would have to get Leviathan off a top down and then go to the giant immediately The it's just looking rough for Vitasia to have a window back into this outside of some very odd circumstances here.
Yeah, we need something that we are not expecting it to give value to pay out highly, and it's pretty much has to be this Val at this point.
Yeah.
Or just an early giant play, just operating on operating on the idea that maybe Dusty wouldn't have gone to the giant early, and even then it seems really unlikely.
And the rat tail actually came from the moon also, which had the tower key. So that was
Oof.
6 key items on the moon. And there's the tower key, effectively 7. Either the legend sword or Pinktail has to come in some way from the moon as well. There's a Fusoya for Dusty at the package. He's going to reset out of it because if there's a duplicate Fu in Zot, he may save that because he's going to look for key items first. So if he can find Fu from a different check first, he will do that. But he will save it because the package is a 3-minute cutscene. You don't necessarily want to commit to that unless you have to. So this is really heads up by Dusty.
Yeah, he hasn't done this keyless tower here yet, so he doesn't know that the Dark Elf at the top is a big womp, but he has the tower key, unlike when Vitasia came up, so it's possible that this is progression, and we just needed that tower key from the rat tail from the moon.
Yeah. But Dusty heading up to the top of tower first, going to take on that Dark Elf, and then going to hit the tower key on the way back down. This is definitely the more traditional approach. It would be interesting to see if he went just for what we call the Penguinator Special, which is the tower key only. But Dusty also knows that with the way that key items are distributed, the top of tower has an equal shot at a key item, just like the tower key does.
Yeah, and at this point with his levels, nothing is going to threaten him, so he can come up here first and then take whatever is in the tower room and be fine. On Vitasia's side, looks like he's got Val fairly well in hand outside of a nearly petrified child, but everyone's got their blinks up and Cecil's swinging away.
Yeah, everyone but Sid is basically an active anchor, if you will, where he's doing some things sometimes, but not doing a ton for the team. This is more the Cecil show here. And Val does have some physical multiplier, or physical evade here as well, so it makes this a little bit longer of a fight than another boss would be at this spot. Even something like a Pale Dim, which is also a purely physical boss, doesn't have those physical evade multipliers. Cecil would probably be doing closer to 2500 or 3k, only doing in the 1700 to 2000 range, or in this case 1000.
How is her magic evade at this spot?
Can't touch her.
Yeah, it's kind of what I expected. I noticed the Quick Kid not doing a lot here. It is the Cecil show, and Val is down. Fingers crossed for exactly Pink Tailor Legend, I suppose.
Oh dear.
Oh no.
That's not the reward that Vitasia wanted. A crystal helmet from Val.
This cannot feel good for Vitasia, especially at an hour and 46 minutes into this seed.
Yeah, one of the things that, at least a bit of solace here for Vitasia, he's an hour and 46 minutes into this. He still hasn't seen a dot done, which means he also knows that this seed is pushing Dusty to his limits. So maybe Vitasia thinking, yes, I'm behind, but it's not going to be unreasonably behind because of how rude this seed has been. It's tough though.
Yeah, Cubs has rolled us a doozy of a seed, but at 145 you never feel good. Vitasia at least following up with his pan check, and then we'll probably go turn in the Sheila checks all at once and get his route to the moon. but really has to pull something amazing off on the moon to have a window to get back in here.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of the way that Vitasia can route to get it done here. It's I don't know. I think the door might have closed with that Val fight, unfortunately.
Yeah, Dustygriff meanwhile finding Mom Bomb in the super cannon room. Kind of an annoying place to see her extra XP, but eats through it anyway because the tower boss is the tower boss.
Yeah, the the tower boss normally has 600 health, and Mom Bomb says, "But what if we make it 9600 for fun?"
Don't you want to see my exploding script?
Yeah, just because you haven't had enough fun this seed, how about we give you some more? But let's see what this tower key yields for Dusty. Is it Legend or Pinktail? It is Pinktail, which means Legend is either behind Luca or Zot.
But for Dusty, that is technically go mode if he wants it. Again, I guess he's gonna. I imagine he will check the Legend Sword here in Luca because it's still shorter to run down Luca, peek the item and reset than it is to sit through that 3-minute package cutscene. But he can turn in his Pinktail and pick up his Fusoya and be on his way to fight Zeromus.
Yeah, the other thing is with this check is that you can go through, and if it has the Legend Sword, you can do the Forge. And you can also go ahead and maybe buy a shiny thing in there for Cecil, or you can do a door grind.
I did not see that coming, but here it is.
However, for the second time, Tella, or a second character for Dusty, is on 0 agility, I believe. This Tella should not have gone first unless he's on exactly 0. So, and then I think Rosa whiffed a wall cast?
I believe she was attempting to cast wall on Porum, but Porum already on the floor. Yeah.
So I think Dusty needs to get this Tella off of 0 agility primarily. Just going to be a little bit awkward to try to make this work. And that trapdoor is a trapdoor after my heart, just targeting that Porum over and over again.
Yeah, this is the possum door, is what this is. Ooh, then accidentally mismenuing and lifing Tella.
Committing to the meme of Tella Life. And there's the Manticore coming out, going to cast Blaze, and see you later again, Porum, who is just continuing to have a terrible day here. The other awkward thing here is this still means that Tella is stuck on 0 agility.
Yeah, I'm going to guess that the curse string will come off him after this, so that the next one doesn't go quite so sideways.
Yeah, may put the curse ring on Porum or Palom. Has a ninja hat.
The ninja hat, there you go.
Very heads up there. So this should work once encounters get turned back on. The way that this works at Battle Speed 3 is you have an attack queued up. So this is going to be Cecil attacking as a Zerker. This buffers the wall input. So the wall can now go off on the person targeted by the disruption. Whereas what we saw earlier was no buffering, and therefore the wall could not go off between the search and the disruption. So very well managed by Dusty there to get that ninja hat on Tella to set this up, and gets Nuke on the small child. Looks like that may have been what he was after more than anything else. May actually go and pick up that Fusoya and add him to the team and go full reflect strats here.
just had to do a couple doors, and now we're on our way out. So I guess we'll see. I guess if you're already sitting through the Fusoya cutscene, then you're already thinking about adding Fusoya to the team at that point, just because sitting through that cutscene.
Yep. Vitasia, meanwhile, did pick up a defense sword, just laying around in cave value. Some poor adventurer perishing along the way, probably to a behemoth, must have dropped their shiny sword, and Vitasia will put that to good use.
I'm going to assume it was Kane. He was happy to finally have his best weapon, and then ate it to a behemoth, and that's why he's not in the seed.
Sounds about right.
Nix Panicus asks in chat, what was the Luca key? We don't know, because Dusty only popped in to do a couple doors for a door grind to get Nuke on the kid, and then turned around and left.
Yeah, we know that either the Luca key or the Earth Crystal has the Legend Sword, but we don't know which one. And Dusty is opting for Fusoya here, and going to pick up this Fusoya, probably go Reflect strats, a fairly traditional Nuke white Reflect, or if Porum has white, which I don't know if she does, could go Quad Reflect with Nuke white, and make it an even quicker time through Zeromus. Angie Dave bringing up a very good point. The Kokol Forge does not give you an Excalibur. We have not seen the Excalibur, and we have seen every other key item check. So Excal and Legend Sword are the only two key item checks that we have not seen to this point.
At Paladin Seasonal, just leaving his swords everywhere.
So irresponsible. Kane left his defense sword in the value cave. Cecil left his Excalibur everywhere else. To answer a question from chat, yes, there is a possibility Legend is behind Luca. However, our runners only need to complete 4 out of 5 objectives. They do not need to complete all of them. So in this case, Dusty has access to Fusoya. He also has access to turn into Pinktail. So he has objectives 2 and 4 currently done, about to complete objective 5, and will shortly be completing objective 3. So Dusty will be able to complete all 4 of the 5 required. He will get his crystal, and he will be able to take on the final boss of the game.
Meanwhile, Yang, cranky that he was not in this seed, shows up to attack the Kaipoin in the middle of the night. And yes, Dusty gets rid of Cecil for Fusoya. We are going to see full reflect strats against Z.
Yep, looks like we're going to get that Nuke white. Porum most likely going to be on Cure duty. She will have Cure 4 but no white. So going to see fairly traditional reflect strats, but with an extra healer. So this is a particularly safe way to do this fight. Not going to have any real issues with the fight here.
Yeah, I'd say this is one of the safest ways to get into this fight, and the odds of Dusty taking several wipes in a row to let Vitasia get back in are nil, I would say.
Yeah, it's going to take a couple nasty wipes here for Vitasia to have a chance to come back. Dusty would need to have some struggles that would be very un-Dusty-like. I know sure he's not the happiest with how this seed has played out, but this has been an awfully rude one that I think would challenge a lot of folks. So I don't think there's any shame in the amount of time that has elapsed on this one for Dusty or any runner.
Yeah, it's especially nice to go for reflect strats in this, because if by some chance Dusty had run out of his Star Veils, they're right here. You can pick them up on the way by. So yeah, there we go.
And picked up, was that 20 of them?
That was 20 Star Veils. Flexing with his boss and gold dragon money here.
But stoppable force. We have a question, and there they are. Chat sleeping on the job here. Normally they're they're doing this way in advance, but I finally see some Z flags coming out. I think that means it's time for me to take a nap, and time for you since it is your first time on comms, to ask a very important question.
I believe I know that question. So Zeromus is too big and too bad for us to put elsewhere in the game, even though we randomize so many things. I mean, do you want to get a big bang in the back attack spot on ordeals? No. So instead, we randomize how Zeromus looks. Over 528 Z sprites, I believe now, by our fantastic community art team, Scala Kitty, shout out. And so the question everyone has on their mind: whose butt are we going to kick tonight? And is it cute?
Does it even have a butt?
Is it capable of possessing butt, or is it an abstract concept like the internet being out?
And meanwhile, Vitasia making his way to the ribbon room, going to be greeted by Dr. Luge and all of his dialogue. Meanwhile, Zeromus talking, and that is in fact a sprite that does in fact have a butt. It's Kuja.
I would say Kuja falls into the cute butt camp. This is a fantastic looking sprite of Kuja, actually.
I mean, that's debatable. I don't find Kuja cute because I thought Kuja was terrible in Final Fantasy IX. That's my favorite game, and I was not impressed. Yeah, so I'm biased. I don't know. That's just me.
If there's one thing we've learned from Final Fantasy villains, that they can be terrible and also cute.
That's fair. That's fair. I always thought Kuja was more fabulous than cute, but again, that's a me thing. So everyone can have their own opinions, and everybody can be right at them at the same time.
Kuja definitely also had some fantastic hair. I'm extremely jealous of Kuja's fabulous hair.
One of the few characters in Final Fantasy that I think Cecil can even be jealous of for having fantastic hair. Normally Cecil is the guy with the hair, but Kuja's hair actually is way more fantastic than Cecil's. But meanwhile, Reflect Strats in full effect for Dusty. Nukes flying, Whites flying, run buffers coming out, making sure that this is super safe on his side.
And Purim napping.
All is right in the world.
Casual 9,000 damage from the Quake Kid there.
Now, this is going to get interesting. I wonder if we're going to see a second Big Bang here. Because, yes, Palom is doing a good amount of damage, but we are on battle speed 2, I believe, instead of a more traditional battle speed 3. And Fusoya only dealing 4,000 with his nukes. So this is not a ton of damage coming out from these reflects.
Yeah, even Rosa's White's only doing in the 5,200 range, so these health totals are a little scary if the second Big Bang comes out. Maybe intending to just nerf it. Maybe Cure 3 potion finally coming out, going to at least cure up Rosa before the Big Bang hits.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. That's a safety Cure 3 there. Might still be able to push enough damage with one more reflected nuke from Fu. We shall see, or maybe even this reflected white from Rosa could get there. It's going to be really close, but I like that Cure 3 usage as a matter of safety. But it does look like Kujimus is crumbling. Dustygriff has defeated the big bad boss and is on his way to the round of 8. GG's to Dusty, and I believe we are also joined by Dustygriff.
Hello.
Welcome.
So, Dusty, this was a seed. Thoughts?
I loved it. It was torturous in every way imaginable, which is right down my alley. So I kind of really enjoy super tough seeds. So this was really fun. It's not very often that I stop for like 20 seconds in a seed and like break out my DKC damage calculator depending on what spot he's at and figure out like what do I need to do next if I could take it on. So yeah, that was wow. Great seed. I love it.
We did have a question for you about that DKC. Before I get to that, though, I believe we are joined by Vitasia. I did see the FF come in. No shame there. That was a doozy of a seed. But GG's to you, Vitasia. Heck of a run to get this far in the tournament.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Let's let everyone please take time to interview the winner of this race before we even talk to me. He getting through this seed by itself deserves some sort of trophy, honestly.
Everyone who plays the seed needs to have a trophy. I think it's this was one.
Yeah, so we had a question a little bit there, Dusty, about that DKC, where there was, a setup that existed where you could kind of stagger some tier 3s with Rosa and Cecil. But at that point, were you kind of thinking, well, maybe I want all the XP for everyone in the party and I'll come back later on this? What was kind of your mindset going into that fight? Was it exactly that, or was it something else?
Yeah, and my problem was I think I only had 2 Cure 3s, and Cecil could tank 1, but maybe not 2 at that time, so I had to heal him, and then Rosa would just get destroyed too after a second one. So I was like struggling to figure out a really good setup where I could make that work with the supplies that I had at the time, and with the fact that Rosa it was kind of a dice roll, I think, with those Rosa's HP. At that point, though, I think I could have used the silver apple and maybe made it not a dice roll. But I more or less at that point just said, I'm going to do more fights on the moon. I'm going to probably use the siren at some point and get levels, and this will all be a lot easier. And since I am so low on, there was no other sirens in the seed that I had, anyways. I was like, I kind of do want more experience out of this if I can, and I'm not going to force it. So it was one of those things of when you have other options, you have to kind of figure out how long you want to spend forcing something to work, other than just going to another option and doing the walk back if you want to do it.
Definitely makes sense. Another question that we kind of had was when you went through Dwarf Castle, you had 5 characters. You were sitting on Tella, Porum, Rosa, Cecil, and Palom. You got rid of Sid, or rather not got rid of, opted not to take him. We were kind of speculating maybe Sid would have been a good addition to the team. What was your reasoning for not taking Sid at that point?
I really, I didn't have a whole ton for him. Like, he could have put on a rune axe, I think, and I might have had an earth hammer, so he could have did a bit of work. But Cecil was honestly doing enough in that regard, and even though like 3 sources of blink, well, we'll say 2.5 because Tella dies half the time, anyways. But 2.5 sources of blink is a lot. For the fights that I had, having all those sources of blink once I got to the moon felt really good. And I really liked that setup in that instance. And I was more or less hoping that all Sid would have probably brought was a little more damage and someone tanky on the team. I was really hoping that Cecil would have ended up with some decent weapon and would have been a really good source of damage himself and be able to... I was kind of banking on that, to be honest. And of course, the seed did not give that to us in any way. Not for me, anyways. I didn't find the Excal or anything. So I was more or less hoping that my setup would just work out. And then I was kind of banking on once I found Fu, since it was an objective and I was more likely going to do that objective, that it would replace Porum. But considering the point that I got Fu, that wasn't the case.
Yeah, an hour and 55 in, it would have been nice for Fu to show up, any time sooner than that.
A little sooner, yeah.
But as far as the seed was concerned for that hook route, obviously you see Asura, there you go. Great, I have a rune axe. Downside, I don't have really any other source of damage. You get underground, it's just shy of an hour in. How are you feeling then? Are you feeling behind? Are you feeling okay, given how rough the start was? Where were you at kind of mentally at that point?
Yeah, I felt pretty rough at that point. it felt not so bad considering I had done all of Baron at that point with the Odin spot, which I felt pretty good about. And I had done Fabul, I had done Twin Harp, all that was complete. So that felt nice, but at the same time, any seed where it's like nearing an hour and you're just getting underground, and this is a seed that you haven't went to the moon or anything yet, feels pretty bad because you don't know how soon your opponent would have done that or prioritize other things over it. Because even though I did those other checks, as soon as you get underground, a lot of times you start the seed kind of spirals. I find, you know, the wheels start turning a little faster, things start moving, you get better party members, some better gear, maybe more key item checks, which might give you like an Excal or whatever. It's kind of lucky that none of that really paid out this way in the seed. At least for the way that I played it, because I think if depending on how someone played this, if they want to go through the hook route a little earlier, which it wasn't a terrible hook route, Azura can be mean, but if you set that up, that's pretty easy kind of early on. Depending on what was down there, that could have, you know, someone could have gone really fast through that. But I think, you know, with what the seed gave us, it made some sense in the situation I was in to just get the Twin Harp done, but I got it, do Fabul, get all of Baron done when it came up, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and y'all were neck and neck actually, basically up to the hook route. You had pulled ahead a little bit after the Twin Harp, but it was extraordinarily close. The big difference came where you were able to get through Asura one shot, and Vitasia unfortunately had to bounce off Asura. But up until that point, it was extremely even. It was one heck of a race for the first half of it. It definitely would recommend watching it back because you know you'll probably be excited and also possibly terrified because of, you know, it was brutal from a viewing perspective, and I can only imagine playing it. It was just as horrific.
There's a lot of, I think, audible gasps while I was playing this one.
But yeah, I've asked all the questions I have. Stoppable Force, please feel free to jump in. Any questions for Dustygriff?
I do not have any right now. I think you covered the ones that we came up with during comms. So I
All
will
right.
just say GG, Dustygriff, and Vitasia.
Yeah, definite GG's, Dusty. You are, of course, more than welcome to stick around while we talk to Vitasia. But any thoughts from you? Any thank yous to Cubs? Any words for your potential opponents going forward?
Many thank yous that comes on this, but I love strange seeds like this. I love a little bit of, you know, making you think. But it was I wasn't prepared maybe to think this much tonight, so that was interesting. But no, it was enjoyable and very much GG's to Vitasia. Great run through this tournament, and can't wait to see what Vitasia does in the next one. And thank you all for commentating this one, for restreaming, tracking. Appreciate it as always, and GG's.
Yeah, thank you again, Dusty. GG's, of course. Dustygriff came in as the #1 seed, undefeated in Swiss, still undefeated in brackets, moving on to the round of 8. But not to be lost in all of that, Vitasia made a heck of a run himself, getting into this round of 16. Maybe a bit of a surprise to a lot of folks. I know for me, I know you more from comms than anything else, Vitasia. I love doing comms with you. And to see you make this run, I think, is incredibly impressive and really speaks to the grinding that you've been putting in to get to this point. So huge compliments to you, not only on this run, but your entire run through the tournament.
Thank you so much. And yeah, I as a general rule, I enjoy doing comms a whole lot. But I also think that at some point, you know, to be I knew one of my weaknesses in my commentary game was that I wasn't that strong of a runner. So I actually started practicing more so I can learn more about the game explicitly so I could contribute more in the commentary booth. And then it just so happens that I practice enough that apparently I'm at least decent now. So who knows what I'll get.
Well, I think you were decent before. I think you're far above decent now. Decent doesn't get you to the top 16 of any tournament in this community. Everyone's so darn good. So I think you need to give yourself a little more credit than that.
No, and that's really, I think, the crux of it. Just everyone in the community has gotten so good that I felt like I had to up my game just to keep up. And it was, everyone I played against Back. I think my first tournament back was Zima Zone 3 because I just kind of taken a break for about a year. Um, so after that, I'm like, oh, everyone's gotten really good. I need to up my game a little bit. So I've absolutely taken that to heart and doing some more practice. And I'm happy that, I'm ecstatic that I got this far in brackets right now. I can actually focus and try to do some of these ladders races that are going on that I haven't been able to do. So um, no, it's just been a fantastic run through this tournament. I really like this flag set. Even when it gives you garbage like this particular flag set, even though it was garbage, it was still fun garbage to wade through. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. And before I hop into asking any questions, Stoppable Force, please, if you have any questions for Vitasia, go right on ahead.
Sure. I guess the only one I really have off the top of my head, as Possum said, you and Dusty were neck and neck to the point that like the leads were changing within a fight. Like you guys got to Evil Wall and the lead shifted ever so slightly by a few seconds. But um, the biggest one seemed to be that Dusty stopped to pick up that Tella in Kaipo and get his anchor situation settled before going down the hook route, and you did not. Well, just what were your thoughts behind not waking up the old man?
The what was going through my mind at that point in time was that I already had a Porum and a Rosa, so I mean, two white mages is plenty, and even though I was using Rosa primarily as an archer at that point because the damage was just stupid. Um, I like Tella. He's all right. I didn't want to go through the cutscene. I didn't want to go through the cutscene. I'm like, oh yeah, I can do this. I have a rune axe. I could totally get through Asura, no problem, right? That was a mistake.
Also, it's not really a question, but I just want to shout out your use of the Mysidia pig strats to then go take on that Golbez in the Odin basement.
Yeah, I thought that was a little bit cheeky. I don't think my Palom was high enough to know Piggy, so and I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? Hey, that dancer. I remember. I think it was Zoe talking about Mysidia Piggy strats, and I'm like, hey, that's actually relevant to my situation right now. So I went and uh, grabbed that, and it was a much faster cutscene than I remembered. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is doable. So I felt really good actually after that. It was just a sorcerer robe, so I was a little bit upset with myself because we got some decent levels out of it, but I'm like, man, if this would have been the Pan or the Earth Crystal, it would have been amazing, but it wasn't. So um, my cleverness did not benefit me this time.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a very good use of that Mysidian Piggy strat, and it was Zoe who actually did that in a prior race that V was involved in. So that is a correct assessment on the other person who we've seen it from. I think y'all are the only two so far in the tournament, but it's a really cool play to make. I did have a question for you on one other play that you made. You opted for the Fey March, and not just the Magus sisters, but also Val. Was part of that in your mind maybe feeling you were behind because of your Ashura experience? Or was it just, this is something I want to do, clear it out, and be done with the Fey March forever?
No, I absolutely felt behind, and I knew of those two fights, the Magus sisters was going to be the one that I was best equipped. I could, I could Zerk up Runak Cecil. At that point, I think my Sid had a Curse Ring on and Dragoon armor, so elemental damage he was just going to absorb everything at that point in time. So I mean, between those two, it was almost a free fight, even if it would be a little bit long. Um, so I wanted to get it done. It was the Pan, but I was so like, I have to give this Val a shot. I knew she was slow enough at that particular location that she'd only really get like one swing in, and with two white mages throwing blinks up, it was a very safe fight, but I knew it was going to be a long one. but I felt like I had to do it. If Dusty would have faded it, that would have been my only shot, and I could absolutely see someone fading it at that point in time because it was such a horrible fight, and at least we got some sort of other guiding light. But yeah, after that Asura debacle, I felt like I had to take a gamble, and I did, and it sucked because there wasn't anything there, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think it was a crystal helm, which was a giant womp womp. Was not what you wanted to see there for sure.
I don't think I even saved between the fights, so I couldn't just reset out of the fanfare. If I remember right, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that was just the seed rubbing it in at that point, which was just not nice.
Either that or the Bacchus wine from top of tower.
Yeah, that was the rudest thing ever. I'm like, okay, well, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna, go up, and it was a Bacchus wine. I'm like, no. I think I even messed up my stream for a little bit. Like, I accidentally shrunk my SNES window a little bit. I was like, no, this is so horrible.
Yeah, we definitely saw that. But I just again wanted to commend you on a heck of a tournament run. You played great. The seed was just just too rude. I mean, when these get over 2 hours, that means that yes, you might still be having a good time, but it could have been nicer, I think is the best way to put it. But you put on a heck of a show as always. You put on a heck of a show through the entire tournament. So with this being the last time we will see you race on Restream for this tournament, but I hope not the last time we will hear you this tournament. Anything you would like to say before we let you go decompress for the evening?
Yeah, I have my whiskey on the rock sitting next to me here, getting ready to have fun with that. But GG's to Dustygriff. He's the favorite for a reason. He's just an absolutely fantastic runner who deserves all the accolades that he gets, and he is so good at what he does. He forces you to play a little bit of a different game, and so GG's to him. I'm looking forward to going through and following the rest of the brackets. GG, thank you, Xenocat, for the tracking. Cubs rule, I hate you a little bit because you rolled this, so no, it's all right. I still love you too, Cubs rule, for the restream. Possum, Stoppable Force, and the entire restream team and the entire community, just thank you so much. Really looking forward to I might take like a week off, and then I'll be right back jumping up and volunteering and helping everyone out. Just thank you, everyone. This is still one of the best communities out there in the internet there is. So I'm just happy to be a part of it and to be here.
Absolutely well put. And thank you again, Vitasia. GG's to you. We look forward to seeing what you're going to do in future tournaments, and definitely going to be happy to have you back on comms as well. But everybody, that was Vitasia, coming in second place tonight, but number one in our hearts, of course, doing the Mysidian Piggy strats, getting to show us who the Job Dwarf was, doing all the things that we love and enjoy. But that is it for us on this broadcast. However, that is not it for us tonight. So on behalf of our entire Restream team, with Xenocat doing the tracking, Cubs Rule doing the restreaming, Stoppable Force with me here in the booth, and then our runners, Dustygriff and Vitasia, we will be heading over to Randomania 1 for the Korek vs. Peasants match. They are, I believe, in Game 3, tied 1-1 currently. We only ask that you do not spoil anything from this race while you are enjoying that one. But with that, Stoppable Force, I will leave the last words to you if you have anything you would like to add.
No, I just want to say it's been a pleasure, and thanks to you and to chat for both being so gracious on my first night on commentary. It was a heck of a match, and I'm looking forward to watching the rest of the round of 16 and the rest of the brackets.
Excellent. Well, GG's to you, Stoppable Force. A fantastic job on your first time on commentary. And remember, y'all, enjoy that match that's coming up, and no spoils, or you get the bonk. Have a good night, y'all.